Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Hospitals grapple with staff shortage as the number of sick doctors and nurses in pension scheme for tourism workers officially launched. Later in sports, 6 Jamaicans named in the Caribbean Football Union's best. I'm Anthony Lugg. Here are the details. Up first this afternoon, double trouble. While COVID hospitalizations are climbing, so too is the number of sick medical staff. The issue was discussed on Power 106's morning agenda. With the fourth wave of COVID-19 now in effect, it was only a matter of time that public hospitals across the island would begin to feel the pressure. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Besesa McKenzie has announced that all major hospitals island-wide have reached 90% capacity. Errol Green is the Regional Director for the Southeast Regional Health Authority.
We have seen an uptick in the absence of healthcare workers. I have met with my team. I've also consulted with the Medical Doctors Association and the Nurses Association of Jamaica. And we had to put in place some steps and some measures.
But hospitals are not only grappling with an increase in COVID-19 admissions. There's also a medical staff shortage. In Western Jamaica, clinical coordinator at the Cornwall Regional Hospital in Montego Bay says on Wednesday the hospital was operating without the service of 21 doctors and 46 nurses due to COVID-19.
It means that we have to concentrate primarily on our emergency service. The patient who comes into the accident and emergency department that requires, emergency care. So we concentrate our efforts into that area.
The administration of the Mandeville Regional Hospital has revealed that several elective surgeries which were delayed due to the third wave of COVID-19 are now turning up as emergency cases. Senior Medical Officer at the hospital, Dr. Everton McIntosh, is worried that elective surgeries might again have to be suspended amid the fourth surge. He says this increases the risk of morbidity.
2 years now that we have been contending with this outbreak, and for most of that time we have had to be suspending regular work and concentrating on emergencies only. And this has been taking a toll on our patients, especially persons who were denied surgery. A lot of them are now coming back.
And clinical coordinator for the Western Regional Health Authority, Dr. Delroy Frey, gave a breakdown of doctors and nurses out with the virus in Westmoreland, St. James, Hanover and Trelawney.
I'll give you the data for yesterday for Savlamar. There were 4 doctors off, 13 nurses off, with 29 positive COVID patients. This morning at the Noel Holmes Hospital, there was no doctors that were off, 1 nurse off with 7 positive COVID patients. And at the Falmouth Hospital this morning, there were 2 doctors off, 13 nurses, and they had 16 positive patients in the field hospital.
Now, Dr. Frey says while the new variant may not be as severe as the previous ones, there is no evidence that people with severe comorbidities will have adverse effects or even die from the virus.
We have to be vigilant in knowing how to address it and who to admit and who we can allow to send home. So it requires very careful clinical assessment and treatment of these patients. I would hope that we would not see the spike that we saw in the third wave, but we just can't predict.
Dr. Frey, who was speaking in an interview with TVJ News this morning, is again urging Jamaicans to get vaccinated and abide by the COVID-19 preventative measures. And hospitalizations continue to increase from COVID-19. 388 are now in hospital. That's up from 362 on Tuesday. 25 people are severely ill, while 5 are in critical condition. There are 12,010 active cases on the island. 99 people have recovered from the respiratory illness, bringing the total recoveries to 66,850. 1,342 cases were recorded yesterday from 3,586 samples. 171 of the cases are imported. The country's overall case count is 107,721. The positivity rate is 53.3%. Meanwhile, 8 more people have died from the respiratory illness. To date, a total of 2,514 people have died. And vendors in downtown Kingston were met with a surprise inspection yesterday, with several illegal stalls being demolished. The Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation says this was necessary as it seeks to clear congested roadways. Cody and Barrett reports.
In a collaborative effort between the KSAMC and the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, several vendors had their structures destroyed or removed after they were found to be either illegal or obstructing traffic. According to Deputy Superintendent Oral Foster, the police are working to maintain clearing roadways.
Especially on market days, on Thursdays and Saturdays, we find that the vendors during those days, they will take up more and more of the roadways, making it almost difficult for motorists to navigate this space.
Interestingly enough, he said vendors understand what the police are trying to achieve and have been cooperative.
One of the things that I find with these vendors is that if you speak to them in a respectful way and they understand the activity that they're carrying out, that it is illegal, most will comply with instructions. Right? So we're taking that kind of soft approach and we're getting the sort of responses that we're expecting.
According to the Municipal Police Commandant for KSAMC, Dwayne Anderson, over 20 truckloads of debris have been removed from the streets. While acknowledging their livelihood, he is imploring vendors to be more conscious and ensure their activities do not hamper others from carrying out their business.
We are saying to you, comply with the instructions, comply with the orders. If you fail to comply, we have to resort to using force in removing you from the locations that you are not permitted to conduct your activities.
But while conducting the enforcement drive, another discovery was made.
We observe that many of these vendors are extracting electricity from the JPS utility pole. This is done illegally. We are asking the JPS that we have a collaborative effort also, that when we are conducting these activities, we can have the technical support from them to deal with this type of activities.
Cody and Barrett, TVJ News.
And it's time now for a break, but stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to Midday News and thanks for staying with us. The Alexandria Police in St. Anne are crediting the use of the closed-circuit television network in the town for the significant reduction in break-ins in the area. As Sandy Williams reports, residents and business operators have been basking in the improved sense of security.
In 2018, a spate of robberies and break-ins in Alexandria St. Anne forced the police to consider installing closed-circuit television CCTVs.
Because what we realize is that most times when these break-ins take place, the patrol is probably out in the districts responding to reports, and culprits would use this time to come into the town and break into the establishment.
The initiative came to reality after the police held fundraising events to garner funds to purchase and install 6 cameras in the town. Sub-officer in charge of the Alexandria Police, Sergeant Ricardo Beckford, says the cameras are monitored 24/7.
As the patrol is out, personnel will be monitoring the town. So if there's any suspicious persons in the town, then we'll be able to see where they are and what they are doing and communicate with the patrol for them to respond to such reports.
More than 3 years later, the initiative has been bearing positive results.
Since the system has been in place, it has been since November 17, 2018, we have seen a significant reduction over the years, and we are at a level where we are at 0 break-ins in the town now. Normally, when a crime takes place, there's always a before, a during, and an after. So the camera system is there now for us to monitor if there are suspicious persons lighting in the town and observing business places and all of that.
Sergeant Beckford also adds the closed-circuit cameras have helped the police to solve several incidents of major crime, including murders. Residents and business stakeholders say they have been enjoying this improved sense of security.
Because anyone who decides to come around here to do anything, of course, it will be reveal later on who they are. Because over the years, a lot of robberies have taken place in the community. And I don't think anyone has been captured, so to speak. But I think with this now, I think it will be highly essential. And of course, the police will be able to do their job much better.
This just further epitomizes that we are a force for good. We are a force for good, working with our stakeholders, with our communities to make our place safer. So commendation to Sergeant Beckwood and his team.
Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
Residents in St. Elizabeth are calling on the relevant authorities to fix a breakaway between the Silo to Balaclava Main Road. The residents say the breakaway happened in October of last year. Now, with the sugar crop and rainy season fast approaching, they are fearing the worst.
It's a cave down under the road section.
Councillor for the Silo Division, Audie Myers, says it has affected several communities.
Entire North, Bellomans, Pulitar, Aberdeen, Thornton, Ipswich, Magaty, Jointwood, Balaclava, Mount Pleasant. Because who are traveling from Mount Pleasant, from the Balaclava area, Oxford, Roosevelt to Montego Bay, they have to trouble that. Who is traveling from Silos, Magaty, Ipswich, Mulgrave, White Hill, all those areas who go to Mandeville. That's where they travel.
Meanwhile, when contacted, Member of Parliament for St. Elizabeth Northeastern Delroy Slowly said he's aware of the issue and plans are in place to fix the road. We go now to the highly anticipated pension scheme for tourism workers is officially up and running. It was launched at a ceremony held at the Montego Bay Convention Center on Wednesday. O'Shane Masters has the details.
Over $500 million have already been put into the tourism workers' pension scheme by the Tourism Ministry, with the third tranche of the $1 billion announced set to be transferred later this month. That declaration by Permanent Secretary in the Tourism Ministry, Jennifer Griffith. She was speaking with reporters at the official launch of the scheme on Wednesday in Montego Bay, St. James. The long-awaited tourism workers' pension scheme is designed to cover workers ages 18 to 59, whether permanent, on contract, or self-employed. This includes hotel workers, as well as persons employed in related industries such as craft vendors, tour operators, red cap porters, contract carriage operators, and workers at attractions.
It is not just a game changer, but this is a huge bit of economic transformational initiative. A pension fund the size of what this is likely to be will create a body of capital that is going to change the ability of more people, more institutions to be able to create wealth.
Tourism workers who are part of the scheme will pay 3% of their salary in year 1 and 5% in year 2. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett says this new scheme is a game changer, as by itself, the Tourism Workers' Pension Scheme triples the pension fund which operates island-wide currently.
I'm given a figure of about 400 million, I gather, that comes from the fund now, based on what's there. And we're talking about billions. In fact, conservatively estimated that we could be delivering up to 100 billion Jamaican dollars annually when the fund really gets going.
As for the buy-in from stakeholders within the tourism sector,
so far, so good. But because it's a legislative matter, I don't think there are a lot of choices. So you have to do it.
O'Shane Masters, TVJ.
And it's now time for the Business Minute. Here's Cody and Barrett.
In the world of finance, 4 public bodies have received a boost in funds in the second supplementary estimates. The Urban Development Corporation, UDC, will receive $180.5 million more, which came from a judgment the entity won. The Jamaica Urban Transit Company, JUTC, will get $150 million more to support operations. Montego Bay Metro has been granted an additional $19.5 million. This is to facilitate retroactive wage payments to bring salaries up to the same scale as their counterparts at the JUTC. The increased sum is to also fund a 4% wage increase. $2.3 million more will go to the Port Security Corps for operational support. And in news overseas, prices in the U.S. are rising at their fastest rate in almost 40 years, with inflation up 7% year-on-year in December. The U.S. Central Bank is expected to raise interest rates this year. The rise in borrowing cost is aimed at reducing demand by making purchases such as cars more expensive. December's increase marked the third month in a row that the U.S. annual inflation rate has hovered above 6%, well above policymakers' 2% target. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
And with the top regional and international stories, here's Sandy Williams.
In the region, Acting Chief Medical Officer Dr. Philip Swan said he is hopeful that the fourth wave of COVID-19 in the Bahamas is peaking and cases will begin to decline soon. He noted that based on the data compiled over the last 2 weeks, it appears that the increase in COVID cases is already slowing. Dr. Swan was speaking Tuesday night during a Ministry of Health and Wellness town hall meeting. In the last week of updates, 3,074 cases have been recorded in the country. 125 people were hospitalized with COVID in the Bahamas as of Tuesday. International scene, France will relax its restrictions for those traveling from the UK starting Friday. Vaccinated travelers will no longer need a compelling reason to enter France or self-isolate when they arrive. However, a negative COVID-19 test taken 24 hours before leaving the UK will be required, vaccinated or not. France brought in the restrictions on December 18 in an attempt to slow the spread of the Omicron variant. Non-vaccinated travelers will still need a compelling reason to enter France and must still isolate for 10 days upon arrival. The country is still battling a surge in COVID-19 infections. According to Johns Hopkins University, on Thursday there were 368,870 new cases and 341 deaths. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Sandy Williams.
Thank you, Sandy. And we head now to a quick break. When we return, we'll have your midday sports report. Simon Preston is standing by.
Welcome back. It's now time for Midday Sports. I'm Simon Preston. At sports time, the West Indies were struggling at 111 for 7 after 34 overs against Ireland in the second one-day international at Sabina Park. Shea Hope, Justin Greaves, Nicholas Puran, Ruston Chase, Kyron Pollard, Jason Holder and Shamar Brooks were the wickets to fall for the Caribbean side for 17, 10, 1, 13, 1, 3 and 43 respectively. Craig Young has led the way with the ball for the Irish with figures of 3 for 18. The West Indies leads the three-match ODI series 1-0. The third and final ODI of the series is slated for Sunday at the same venue. 6 reggae girls have been named in the Caribbean Football Union's Best Women's 11 of 2021. After notching 13 goals in 21 appearances in the 2021 calendar year, Khadija Bunny Shaw headlines the list. She's also joined by Chelsea midfielder Drew Spence, who won the English treble last season after winning the Women's Super League, the Women's FA Cup and the Women's League Cup. The other Jamaican internationals in the 11 reads Captain Konya Plummer, Havana Salone, Alison Swaby and Rebecca Spencer. The rest of the 11 is completed by 2 Dominicans, 1 Haitian, 1 Puerto Rican and 1 Trinidad and Tobago international. The Reggae Girls will commence action in the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup qualifiers on February 17 against Bermuda. Back locally now, as 7-time winners Cornwall College will face Edwin Allen in the quarterfinals of the Issa Ben Francis Cup competition this afternoon. Kickoff is at 3 o'clock. In the other 3 o'clock encounter on the quarterfinals on the day, Manchester High will battle Christiana High. At 1 o'clock, Monroe College faces Frome, while at 3:15, St. Elizabeth Technical entertains Vere Technical. The Walker Cup semi-finals are slated for Friday. 8-time winners Liverpool will face 2-time winners Arsenal in the first leg of the semi-finals of the English League Cup this afternoon at Anfield. Kickoff is at 2:45 Jamaica time. The second leg is slated for next week Thursday. The winner will face Chelsea in the final on February 27 at Wembley. Cape Verde will be searching for back-to-back wins in the Africa Cup of Nations as they face Burkina Faso and Cameroon this afternoon. Cape Verde clipped Ethiopia 1-0 in their opener, while Burkina Faso fell 2-1 to Cameroon. Kickoff is at 2 o'clock Jamaica time. At sports time, it was 1-1 between Cameroon and Ethiopia in the early kickoff. And that is it for your Midday Sports Report. I'm Simon Preston. Anthony, it's over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Simon. And that's where we leave you this afternoon for the Midday News. I'm Anthony Lugg. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, good afternoon.